The memory of actually meeting Oyashiro-sama was unbelievably vague. After I got out of the hospital, I continued being treated at home. I still felt something moving in my veins, so I wanted to cut my body to make the blood ooze out so that I could make sure that there were no maggots in there. Usually, I was sleeping like the dead because of the strong pills I was taking. But one day I forgot to take the pill, and my consciousness was very clear. I felt the maggots moving in my veins, and I felt the urge to look inside. I cut a vein on my wrist. I knew it. A lot of blood and many dusky red maggots came out from the wound. I wanted to wash them off before they crawled back inside me, so I put my wrist under running water in my bathroom sink, and I tried to open the vein. Oh God. Jesus Christ. Water, blood, and maggots ran down into the drain, just like squeezing out the pus from a pimple. And I squeezed the vein to get rid of the dirty blood and the maggots. I kept doing it. My arms started to feel numb, and I felt cold, but I kept doing it. I thought I might die from losing too much blood, but I kept doing it. My body was filled with maggots. I had to squeeze all my blood out of me. And then, a very bright light shone upon me. It was a very bizarre sensation. I had never experienced anything like it in my life. All of a sudden, the dark bathroom was filled with a bright light. It was very bright but gentle. It wasn't like the light from the merciless fluorescent bulb. It was very warm and gentle. That was Oyashiro-sama. Oyashiro-sama was looking at me with gentleness and sadness in his eyes. As he touched my wound, the maggots started melting and disappeared in front of my eyes. That wasn't all. All the maggots that were moving throughout all my veins disappeared too. Oyashiro-sama taught me. These maggots were the curse. People of the demon's blood can't live outside of Hinamizawa. It's the rule. Unfortunately, you've been cursed. It's very sad, and I feel sorry for you. There is only one way to save you. That's what he said. What should I do? The answer was very simple. All I needed to do was to go back to Hinamizawa. I unconsciously knew that before I heard it from Oyashiro-sama. People who are born in Hinamizawa must never leave. But I broke Oyashiro-sama's rules, and I left Hinamizawa. That's why my family was broken, and I lost my mind. If I hadn't left Hinamizawa, nothing would have gone wrong. And so, I had to go back. Oyashiro-sama also told me this. He could make the maggots, the embodiment of the curse, disappear. But only temporarily, because I lived far from Hinamizawa. After a while, the power of Oyashiro-sama would fade away, and the curse would start eating my body again. If that happened, the maggots would take over my body, and I would go insane and die. I must go back to Hinamizawa before his power to hold down the curse faded away. That's what Oyashiro-sama told me. He did. I heard him tell me that. I should have gone back to Hinamizawa earlier. That's why Oyashiro-sama came to me to put his curse on me. But he gave me a chance. He gave me a chance to pay for my sin of leaving Hinamizawa. Dad, listen. Oyashiro-sama is going to help us. Let's go back to Hinamizawa. Hinamizawa is the place where we must live. If we don't, not only me, but you might be cursed too. Let's go back to Hinamizawa. That's the only place where we can live. We need to hurry. We need to hurry, or Oyashiro-sama's power will fade away, and my body will be eaten by maggots. Oh no. Oyashiro-sama is following me. He's telling me to hurry. He follows me everywhere and keeps telling me to hurry. He keeps apologizing to me for putting his curse on me. He follows me everywhere and keeps apologizing. I'm telling you the truth. Apologizing? I am. Why can't anybody see it? Why can't they see the maggots or Aishiro-sama? Everybody's trying to fool me. I know they can see them too. No, please stop. I don't want to get another shot. Ah! Okay, Rena, focus. Snap out of it. I was breathing hard. And Mio-san was holding my shoulders. I could feel that the terrible memory I'd been trying to forget was awakening. The doctors told me that the memory was just my delusion. They told me that since I blamed myself for the divorce, I unconsciously had a desire to blame someone else for it. And I unconsciously connected the desire to the folktale of Oyashiro-sama that I read when I was little. Alright, so I am back from my little break. Now, two things. First and foremost, since I've been getting some comments about this, we're gonna be doing this a little bit. A little bit. Let's see if this is gonna be good. Or so... Maybe something like that. Let's go with that for right now, I think. Yeah. You know, I am a little bit self-conscious about balancing volume. I always feel like I'm not doing a good job of it. So, I don't know. We shall see if this is good. Second of all, you know, we've been talking about the divorce and all that for quite some time in this chapter when it comes to Rena's past. And apparently the man that Rena's mother went through was called Akihito. From what I remember, his name was mentioned. Apparently, there is one guy that is also called Akihito in Yumineko that may have went with Rosa at some point. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same man that we had in like that one episode, like episode 4 it was. We had that one scene with Rosa and the man, like, in one apartment room. And the man was commenting on Rosa's, like, parent skills and all that, and was doing all that. And Rosa was like, mind your own business. I wonder if it's the same Akihito. Like I was reading, Akihito was in Yumineko as well. I googled it as well, so that is insane. That is quite insane. But yeah, I got drug treatment, received counseling, and waited. I gradually got better, and that proved the things I saw were just a hallucination. The doctors asked my father to consider moving to Hinamizawa if possible. Also, going back to the topic of music balancing and all that. Like, you know, I try to balance things out, but keep in mind, folks, apparently there is a little bit of a difference between some music, because obviously some bombastic music like Digital Network is going to be loud, whereas some slow music is going to sound low. So also keep that in mind. For example, this right here, like the piano. Obviously it sounds a little bit low, so Fortunately, he wanted to change his living environment to heal his pain from the divorce as well. So we came back to Hinamizawa. After he came back to Hinamizawa, I felt it. I felt it in my bones that this was the place we should live. And I also felt Oyashiro-sama's blessing. I definitely felt it. I felt the curse of Oyashiro-sama starting to break. I was free. After I moved here, I went to the clinic in Gogura for a while. The doctor gave me the same poisonous looking pills, and I kept taking them for a while. Pills? The terrible memory gradually became unclear. Whenever I tried to remember it, I could only remember the strong side effect of the pills. It made me dizzy. That's how I regained my peace. And then I changed my name, Reina. The reason was because my name reminded me of those bad memories. I didn't want to have anything icky in my life anymore. That's why I came up with the idea of taking icky things out. Yeah. After I took the I of Iki out from my name, Reina, there were only Re and Na left. That's how Reina was born. I like that. When I was introduced to my classmates, I told them to call me Reina. Since then, that had been my name. I'm living my new life as Reina. I cut away all the sad things that happened when I was Reina. My father still calls me Reina, but I don't feel bad as long as it was just my father and my relatives. Okay, but then Reina came into my life one day, and she called me Reina. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, this just comes to my mind like right now. Reina, it's only the I. It's as if you cut the E out of Reina, it will be Rina. It's fully Iki in Reina's eyes. Just to drive it home a little bit more. Because she called me Reina. Those colored lights start flickering again. I should stop. I should forget about it. The lights were still flickering.
すみません。私、だいぶ取り乱してました。
小声で何かつぶやいてたわね。落ち着いたならよかったわ。
Judging by Mio-san's reaction, I wasn't panicking as badly as I thought I was. Oh, you were panicking, no doubt. You were having an episode there. But I probably had those panic hallucinations several times. If I started screaming again like I was dead, they'd take me away to a hospital again for sure.
私は、あの異常な中で、確かにお社様に会ったんです。もちろん、ウジ虫も。信じられませんよね。
Mio-san smiled, looking a little confused. I couldn't blame her. I didn't expect her to believe it. Yeah, sure, it was just a strange memory I created for myself in my hallucinations. I can't believe I can't trust myself. That's the worst feeling of all.
レナちゃん、まず一つ安心してほしいの。
はい。
レナちゃんが怖がっているタタリ、つまり血の中にいたというウジ虫。それはお社様が言うには、Hinamizawaにいる限りは大丈夫なんでしょう？
ええ、そう言ってました。
なら、怯えることはないじゃない。安心して。あなたは今、Hinamizawaにいる。まあ、この図書館は沖宮だけど、このくらいの距離なら、お社様も許してくれるわね。血管の内側に何かがうごめいているなんて感じないでしょ？
それは、はい。
だから安心して。あなたは今、お社様の戒律をちゃんと守ってる。だから、何も恐れなくていいの。だってそうでしょ？ね？
はい。はい。
I didn't know until then that she was such a warm-hearted person. I met many doctors and talked to them about this, but they always ignored me and didn't really listen. All they did was give me a shot of the drug I hated. That is surely a side of Takano that we don't see like at all. Which, also, I guess it makes sense. She's also a nurse at a clinic. She would have this kind of side to her. I mean, whether it's a true side that she has or she is putting like a mask to calm Rena/patients and all that, but nonetheless, she is capable of being comforting too. On the other hand, Mio-san didn't deny my story or the existence of Yashiro-sama. The people in this village whispered behind her back that she's a little crazy. She was actually a very kind person, I thought.
レナちゃん、私は今の話全部信じるわ。
ありがとうございます。そう言ってくれた人は初めてかもです。
それは私も同じよ。私の話をバカにしないでちゃんと聞いてくれた人はあなたが初めて。私たち、いい友達になれそうね。
Mio-san smiled, touching my head with hers.
なら、私の秘蔵のファイルとスクラップも貸してあげるわね。
Yeah, sure, why not?
本当に本当の門外不出。私以外の誰にも見せる気がなかったんだけど、レナちゃんには特別に読ませてあげてもいい気がするわ。あなたなら、バカにしないでちゃんと読んでくれそうな気がするし。
She took a few scrapbooks out of her paper bag and handed them to me.
ぜひ読んで感想を聞かせてね。あるいはひょっとすると、レナちゃんにしかわからないことなのかもしれない。
Mio-san was acting mysteriously. She smiled mischievously and put her index finger on her lips as a sign to keep it a secret.
あと、このスクラップ帳と私がそういう研究しているのは内緒よ。
内緒ですか？はい、わかりました。
だってこんな研究をしているのが連中に知られたら消されてしまうかもしれないものね。
She laughed after she said that. They might erase her. That's what she said. And she went missing. She left me her scrapbooks. But that's not all there is to it. It's the way Tomitake-san died. Oishi-san said he committed suicide because of a state of excitation caused by using some kind of drug. But I know what really happened. I didn't tell Oishi-san about it. I don't think he'd have believed me even if I told him. Without a doubt, Tomitake-san died trying to get rid of the maggots. It was nothing other than the curse of Oyashiro-sama. To never leave Hinamizawa isn't the only rule of Oyashiro-sama. There are more. He might have broken one of them without knowing it. Oishi-san told me Tomitake-san was taking pictures with his camera flash on during the sacred ritual dance. And some people got mad at him for it. Did Oyashiro-sama put his curse on Tomitake because he violated the sacred ritual dance? It might be for another reason. Anyway, he died from the curse of Oyashiro-sama, without a doubt. Did that mean Oyashiro-sama put his curse on Mio-san too? Investigating the gods is the same as getting close to the gods. It's disrespecting them. But Mio-san told me that they might get rid of her if they found out about her investigation. By they, she meant humans. Plus, according to our theory, the three families are in a conspiracy to revive the faith of Oyashiro-sama. But I can tell by the way Tomitake-san died that he was the act of the curse. I'm certain about that because I experienced the curse myself. And at first glance, that seemed incompatible with those conspiracy theories about human beings. I remember that Oishi-san told me something about some kind of drug that can make a person commit suicide. So, do the three families have a secret drug that can cause the curse for Ashio-sama? That's impossible. Plus, I didn't get any shots of a suspicious drug like that. Are you sure about that? I had a normal life in Ibaraki. I wasn't involved with the Osonozaki family or the Kimiyoshi family. But you did get drugged a lot throughout your years. In fact, you're like the one person that I can think of that has been drugged the most up until this point. Whether it's syringes or in pill form, maybe. Oishi-san asked me a favor. He asked me to tell him secretly if I saw or heard anything suspicious. It could be about Mi-chan, Rika-chan, or anybody in the village. Mio-san believed my story about Oyashiro-sama. Now she's gone. Tomitake-san died by doing the same thing I did. Oh, no. No. I want to get involved with the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Is this a conspiracy of a group of fanatical cult members? Or is it the curse of Oyashiro-sama? Is everything just a set of coincidences? Or maybe it's a mixture of a conspiracy and a curse? I don't know. Is it the work of humans, the curse, or a coincidence? Oh no. Even the light of the sunset was making me feel dizzy. When did the sunlight in Hinamizawa get so mean? Mio-san told me to keep her investigation secret. I have her top secret scrapbooks. They might hold the truth about everything. When I realized that, I got scared all of a sudden. I might end up the same way as Mio-san, because I have her scrapbooks. If it's a conspiracy, I'll be erased. If it's the curse, I'll be cursed. I should burn the scrapbooks. That's the safest thing to do. But Mio-san believed my story. Mio-san listened to me without laughing. It feels wrong to burn them without taking a look. If it's a conspiracy, I have to expose it. If it's a curse, I have to break it. I shouldn't run away. I should fight. That's right. I decided to fight to seize my happiness. I shouldn't give in to misfortunes. I have to fight. Now the question is, are you gonna fight alone, or are you gonna fight with Keiichi and the rest? Because again, if you were to do this with your friends, maybe we could make a difference. If you were to do this alone, it will be no different than the other chapters. I don't think I need to repeat myself. I'm going to get rid of all the things that are trying to ruin my peaceful life. I'm going to read her scrapbooks when I get home. I started walking faster. Alright. Lunch takeout list. What is this? Is this a shopping list? ATTM. Kuroda Mental Clinic. Okay. Hello. To get straight to the point, we can assume that this is an acute case of post-traumatic stress disorder. The patient is subject to tremendous stress because of her parents' sudden divorce, and being forced to choose to live with either her mother or her father. Okay. Furthermore, the patient firmly believes that she was responsible for her parents' divorce, which further drives her to self-mutilation. The patient's largest shock stems from a sense of betrayal of her own household, which she believed was an absolute safe haven. Henceforth, there is a high possibility that the patient will resort to psychological defense measures to protect her family. For example, she might feel high disdain for any person of the opposite sex who approaches her father. Truer words have never been spoken. She might feel uncomfortable about having other people in her home. She may also display eccentric behavior in order to keep people away from it. As an example of the latter, there are reported cases of patients unconsciously bringing home garbage. Oh. Eccentric behavior in order to keep people away from it. Oh shit. I didn't even think about it. Because yeah, Rena is a garbage collector. I mean, not only is she going to the construction site because it was like her new safest haven away from home for many reasons that we talked about before, like leaving her father alone to be happy with like his partner, feeling as if her home is no longer a safe haven, so she had no choice but to stay at the construction site late at night, or she felt like she was relating to the junk in the sense that she had no place to go. But this is a new one. Bringing garbage home would mean that it would get a little bit uncomfortable for anybody who is visiting the home. Like, ew, God, this place is filled with garbage. Ew, I don't wanna like connect to a guy who doesn't even clean his own house. No, fuck, I'm living this. I no longer want to associate with Rena's father. And yeah, it may very well be that this is, whether Rena was aware of it or not, this is a defense kind of thing, like bringing garbage home in order to like get rid of possible partners of the opposite sex. It's highly important that the patient remains in close communication with her father. By deepening the communication between the two of them, it will strengthen their family bond and loosen up her anxiety. Since the patient only shows signs of an acute syndrome in this case, there is a very good chance that she will recover within 3 months with her father's support and proper medication. However, it's common for a patient who seems to have recovered to have a sudden reoccurrence, a flashback, even after 10 years. Her father is still very young, and there's still a chance that he could remarry. However, seeing an unfamiliar member of the opposite sex through remarriage could trigger a flashback in the patient, which may lead to avoidance behavior or hyper-awareness. Please explain this part thoroughly to the father in order for him to understand the recovery process. Should the father decide to remarry, it's recommended that he should hold off in telling the patient until she reaches the age where she is capable of living independently. Well, marriage is one thing, but it's kind of hard to do that when even it's kind of hard to deal with Rena even when they were just going together. Even in a girlfriend boyfriend situation, Rena would still do what she did. So it's not even a marriage thing. It's like having any kind of female like be near the father. Also, the cause of the patient's psychosomatic self-mutilating behavior, delusional parasitosis, seems to be its own culture-bound syndrome. Culture-bound syndrome. The patient blindly believes that leaving her home village will cause a curse, and that this curse was the cause of her parents' divorce. We believe this is a conscious defensive mechanism to reduce her mental trauma by shifting the blame from herself to her village's curse. According to the patient's statement, the culture of her home village is extremely strict and exclusive. The patient believes that there is no way to be safe from the curse other than by going back to the village, as the curse will continue as long as she lives in her current environment. Through this, we see an inclination of schizophrenia, and believe the chances are high that the patient will continue to alter their perceived reality. Schizophrenia, a case where patients' personalities are reduced, causing altered perceptions of reality and delusions. Her delusion about the maggots dwelling in her blood is a perfect example, and it's also the cause of her psychosomatic self-mutilating behavior. When a delusion involves psychosomatic self-mutilating behavior, it's extremely dangerous. I highly recommend for the father to move back to the village if he is financially capable. Allowing her to live with relatives in the village might also work. If such a strong belief can induce symptoms such as self-mutilation, then there might be other cases similar to this one. Perhaps prior medical files that document similar culture-bound syndromes may be available at a large medical institution or local area. It will then be possible to provide better and more accurate mental care for the patient by obtaining these case files. This B5 size letter was with a bunch of memos. The following was on the back side of the letter. 1 chukadon, 3 Shanghai style gomoku yakisoba, 1 large fried rice. Eh? Was it the doctor's shopping list? What? Okay. Oh boy, and here we have Rena reading from the scrapbook about homing ability in hope sickness. If you interpret homing ability in a broad sense, you can say that most animals have a homing ability. It's the same with humans. We like to sleep, rest, and eat at a place where we feel comfortable, namely our homes. Your home is to you what nests are to animals. Therefore, we can say that humans have a homing ability as well. First of all, why do animals need nests? The answer is the same as for humans. Sleeping, resting, and eating are the essential actions for survival. At the same time, those actions leave one defenseless as well. That's why you need a safe area where you can be defenseless. Everybody knows that not having this safe area results in a high level of stress. When you move an animal to a new environment, it naturally becomes stressed. When you force a person to live in a foreign land where they aren't comfortable, they become greatly stressed as well. Everybody also knows that this kind of stress is called homesickness. The Japanese don't know much about homesickness. We defined it as mental weakness, and we neglected to treat it for a long period of time. However, homesickness has a very long history. In Europe's Middle Ages, people believed that it wasn't a mental, but rather a physical disease. People also believed that out of everyone, the Swiss got the disease the most. The Swiss, you see, were known to be an ethnic group that worked away from home. In that era, they lived far away from their homes. There were no telephone at the time, so they couldn't even hear their families' voices for ages and ages. It's easy to imagine that young Swiss workers got homesick while working in a strange land. These Swiss who got homesick wanted to go home, but they couldn't because of their jobs. The conflict made them weak physically and mentally. Some of them went crazy and tried to escape from their reality by committing suicide or running away. The Swiss at the time were very superstitious, and many folk remedies and occult-like treatments to prevent hope sickness went around. Since going home was the only treatment, they must have called it a fatal disease. But it really isn't one, of course. Specifically, homesickness is a sign of that human homing instinct. Your brain decides to go back to your safe area, namely your home. At first, your brain makes you remember the happy memories of your home, and energizes you to go home in a natural way. But when reason stops you from achieving your desire, your brain starts sending unnatural signals to your body. As a result, your body gets weak, and that makes it more difficult for you to live in a strange land. In the end, you have to bend reason in order to achieve your desire to go home. So, homesickness is born from our homing instincts. And the stronger one's homing instinct is, the stronger their homesickness. The strength of that homing instinct varies from individual to individual, and depends on the environment in which those individuals live. When your home is safe, and the environment you live in is dangerous, your homing instinct grows stronger. On the other hand, when the environment you live in is safer than your home, your homing instinct becomes very weak. Safety isn't the only element that affects its strength. Cultural aspects affect it too. The many customs demanding families to return home for major events varies with each region. So your birthplace's culture also alters the strength of your homing instinct. Oh yeah, you know. With the curse of Oyashiro and all that, like, it definitely strengthens then the homing instinct even more. And because of that, it intensifies the stress of not being able to go home. Amongst those regions, the transcendence of Onigafuchi village were believed. Amongst those regions, the transcendence of Onigafuchi village were believed to have an excessively strong homing instinct. The people of Onigafuchi forbade their foes from ever living. Many believe this was the effect of the elitism and sense of purity I already mentioned before. People today still strongly believe that Oyashiro-sama puts his curse on you if you break his rule and abandon the village. This superstition can be interpreted as homesickness. If homesickness is directly proportional to one's homing instinct, then the exaggerated expression curse would signify the strength of their homesickness, and also their homing instinct. I can assume that they hated the outside world and created an insular society precisely because of their powerful homing ability. Unfortunately, there's no way to measure the strength of the homing ability that the primitive people of Onikafuji had. It was so strongly forbidden to leave the village that nobody lived long enough to get homesickness. However, after the Meiji era, things changed. The sacredness of Onikafuji dwindled with the efforts of modernization. Many young people started longing for city life, and some people were forced to leave the village to get a job. As a result, villagers started venturing outside the village borders. That was when the transcendence of Onikafuji realized how strong their homing ability was for the first time. You know, thinking about this, it kinda makes me think of the mother. How is she doing? Like, if she's doing fine, then, again, kinda makes you question the curse. The residents of Hinamizawa got extremely homesick. After a while, people started to call this homesickness the curse of Oyashiro-sama. It became rumored that a person who left the village to get a job in a strange land was cursed, that he went crazy and died, and people who had left the village started coming back to either it or the nearby town. Their homesickness and their homing ability were very strong, because of their culture. It's reasonable to think that these were cultivated by the unique religion in Hinamizawa, namely the cult of Oyashiro-sama. From the moment they were born, they were taught the roles of Oyashiro-sama. They must have felt guilty about living the village unconsciously. As a result, they considered their homesickness to be the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I'm not sure if their homesickness got stronger because of the rules of Oyashiro-sama, or if they made the rules of Oyashiro-sama because their homesickness got stronger. Chicken and the egg kind of situation, I guess. I don't know which came first. I got tired of reading such small print and lay down on the floor of my back. The true identity of the curse of Oyashiro-sama is homesickness? Mio-san believed my story, and she let me read these scrapbooks. That's why I expected to find something interesting. Yeah, you know, maybe this is like a primitive mentality that has lasted this long, which shouldn't have. Back from like the old days where technology was non-existent and people believed in spirits and magic and all that more than science. In that sense, some people would think that, oh, I don't feel right. I'm feeling sad today. I'm feeling physically sick. Is it because I'm away from home? Like, what is this? This must be some cursed magic or something. Ugh. And they noticed the pattern with a lot of people of the same effects, and the people Hinamizawa, or Onikafuji at the time, called it like a curse, rather than just a normal human reaction, like homing ability, as Mio is saying right over here. Because of the times, like the old times, people at the time, they were probably not the smartest. They would think that anything that goes wrong with their lives would probably think that it's a curse or something like that. And because of those kinds of times, especially with how secluded Onikafuji was in the past, that kind of mentality has lasted even to this point. Even if there are some people that will study like Takano and think reasonably about it, this religious non-sciencey way of thinking has lasted this long that it's affecting people like Rena even to this point, which shouldn't be. But what it's saying is that the answer to it all is homesickness. which many doctors told me so many times at counseling. I am a little upset. The word homesickness can't explain the extraordinary experience I had. Now, the problem we are having right over here is that there is a lot more to it than homesickness, that's for sure. Homesickness by itself is not causing these demonic episodes that we've seen. Definitely not. It's like a factor that contributes to stress, which contributes to the curse. It's just one of them. I saw Yashiro-sama come down to me from a bright light in the bathroom. I saw the dusky red nasty maggots come out of my blood vessels. It's because, like, you can live outside the Hinamizawa, like, sure, you could have, like, homesickness and all that, but as long as everything else in your life is good, like, let's take Rena's mother, for example. She is living the time of her life. She is financially secure, to the point where you could say that she's rich. She has a steady job. Of course, she may have fractured from her family, which, yeah, you know, it kind of depends how she's doing right now. Maybe she's happy, like, even after the divorce, that she has nothing to do with the father and the Rena, and she's still living her life all happy with her job and some new partner that she has. And even if she may feel like homesickness, she's all good. But there's the flip side that maybe at some point the mother is gonna become so guilt-ridden by what she did in the past to hurt the father and Rena. At that point, you may have to worry about Oyashiro. Like, it's not gonna be just homesickness. You're gonna feel so destroyed by what you did. You're gonna feel as guilt-ridden as Rena did in the past about how she felt that she may be the cause for the divorce in the first place. Imagine. Are we gonna get like any update on the murder? Probably not. The scrapbook doesn't explain any of that. I don't understand how Mio-san was going to explain the clouds of maggots. Maybe she didn't have any explanation of that to begin with. Was it just a delusion? I flipped through one of the other scrapbooks Mio-san let me borrow, maybe for an explanation of the maggots I saw. I mean, you know, speaking of maggots, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm scratching myself a lot. Even right now I'm scratching. I don't know if it's because of stress, but, you know, yeah, that could be seen as another example of the primitive times on Onigafuchi and the people in it. Because of a lack of science and medical thinking and all that, at that point, some people are gonna think, why am I so itchy all of a sudden? Jesus Christ. Oh god, I may have maggots inside of me. Something like that, so imagine. Like, when you scratch yourself, like, a horror way of thinking would be that there is something moving inside of you that is making you itch. Then I found it. Oh, yeah, the exact title I was looking for. About maggots and the curse of Yashiro-sama. In the Meiji era, a group of villagers were on their way back to Hinamizawa, and they started discussing a rumor about a weird disease. They said that maggots started crawling out of the wounds of a person who left Hinamizawa, and that the maggots ate the person's body from the inside. Well, there you go, that's what I was talking about. The Shinto priest of the Furuta shrine at the time explained that the weird disease was a sign of the curse of Yashiro-sama. According to the tradition, the Shinto priest showed the villagers an ancient scroll, and he told them that the story of the maggots had been passed down through the ages. Okay, so I guess we are gonna include like maggots into the whole disease thing, I guess. It is the first time we are seeing this. It's not as if we've seen Keiichi or Shion display like these kinds of effects of scratching themselves, maybe like feeling as if there's some maggot inside of them. This is what the scroll said. The world where the demons came from must be interpreted as the land of death, and the demons in that land of death had to live their lives while being eaten by maggots. Their villagers who are of the demon's blood had nothing to worry about as long as they lived in Hinamizawa under the protection of Oyashiro-sama. But once they left Hinamizawa, abandoning that protection, the maggots that had been sleeping in the blood of the demons would start to awaken, and they'd eat their bodies from the inside out. This maggot disease scared the villagers for a while, and they asked the shrine to provide them with protective talismans whenever they had to leave the village on business. I mean, God, imagine what kind of other side effects you could have that would be interpreted as some horrific part of the disease. Like, let me think. Like, being away from Hinamizawa, like, you get stressed, maybe you get tired easily. It makes you sleep more. And in the eyes of the villagers of Onigafuchi, like, they're gonna think, oh, you are being cursed, like your body is being cursed to sleep. If you end up breaking Oyashiro, like, if you are to break Oyashiro's rules even more, you're gonna end up sleeping forever. Which in turn, it will mean death, because, you know, too much stress can lead to death. Like, as time goes, the more stress you have, the sleepier you get. It's wild. This is interesting, as it's similar to the way homesickness was dealt with by the Swiss in the Middle Ages. After the war started, the delusion of the maggot disease faded away, but there remained the custom to send talismans to families that lived away from Hinamizawa. The talismans had the word maggot on them. But the most interesting part about all this is that the residents of Hinamizawa didn't know about the maggot disease until the rumors began. I thought that their unconscious worship made those people think of homesickness as a curse. So, this case of the previously unknown maggot disease directly contradicted the research I had done so far. It's natural to think that a group of people who were on their way back to the village were lost in a mass delusion because they strongly believed in the curse, and that the Shinto priest took advantage of their state of panic to instill a deeper faith in them. But I'm not fully convinced that it was merely a coincidence as this mass delusion matched with the story in the old picture scroll. I wonder if it's possible to see maggots in a wound without having the prerequisite knowledge when a person is cursed by Oshiro-sama. I wish Oshiro-sama would put his curse on someone I could study. See, that's the thing. I don't know if this is a detail that was mentioned, but I wonder if Rena has heard these kinds of rumors about maggots before she started, you know, cutting herself to see the maggots, or if these maggots, if the idea of maggots being inside of Rena was something that she discovered when she cut herself, without any prior knowledge of these rumors of maggots being inside of you because of Ayashiro. Because if these fears of having maggots inside of you started out as young, like long before Rena started cutting herself, there is an origin to it. But if she started seeing like these maggots like when she started cutting herself without any prior rumors of maggots inside of you, like because of Ayashiro, that's an interesting case. I guess that's the same thing that Takano is asking herself. Wonder if it's possible to see maggots in a wound without having the prerequisite knowledge when a person is cursed by Oshiro. Like, that's the thing. Like, what started? I felt as if Mio-san was here making that request of me. I remember, when she gave me the scrapbooks, she said that I might be the only one who could understand them. I felt good just for a moment, because I found out that the maggots weren't a delusion. But at the same time, it destroyed my excuse that it was a delusion. The maggots weren't a delusion. They were there. All of a sudden, my wrists, elbows, inner thighs and neck started itching. I felt the urge to cut open a blood vessel, but I quietly held it down. I remember that Mio-san looked very serious when I talked about the maggots. She must have thought it was creepy, but so did I. while I was crying because nobody believed me. A part of me didn't want to believe that my body was filled with those creepy things. I think part of me wanted to believe that it was a delusion. But now I know it wasn't. It wasn't a delusion. There are some people who had the same experience. Maggots in the demon's blood will awaken when you lose the protection of Yashiro-sama. In other words, they may not awaken under the protection of Yashiro-sama, but all the villagers still have the maggots in them without knowing it. Man, it's just... These are rumors that happened like ages ago. It's not as if we have like any retelling of these kinds of same experiences like in current times. Like, maybe if you've seen like one patient like at the clinic who you talk to and they tell you that, oh, I see maggots and all that, maybe that would cause you to panic. But these are just these are things that the people have thought of like in like primitive times on Onigafuchi, like centuries ago. These are what they thought. And not to mention that whatever books Takano have read from, it's not as if they are clear evidence. People with the demon's blood are people who have the creepy maggots in their bodies. I tried not to jump to conclusions and flipped the pages again. I unconsciously looked for something related to maggots. About parasites and control of the host. The maggots disease made me think about something. Is it possible to say that the extremely strong hope sickness on Hinamizawa was an infectious disease caused by some kind of parasite? I'm not trying to connect the maggots they saw with parasites. I'm trying to think about the possibility that their culture, their religion, might be associated with an infectious disease. Okay. Many infectious diseases are caused unintentionally by parasites. A parasite's host is literally its home. It wants to live within a host's body for as long as it can. The best way to do that is to coexist with the host without the host knowing it. Okay. You know, we are delving into something when it comes to the origin of the disease that I have been sputtering about in all these chapters. If it's not something governmentally made, I was thinking that, like, if it's not governmentally made, it is something of an old origin. Like, maybe there is a parasite that exists, like, in Hinamizawa and around it specifically, that is causing all this. Like, in similar fashion to how I was thinking that... Oh, okay. I was thinking of the cicadas, but in that case, I was thinking of the cicadas, they were... like, specifically governmentally altered for some evil purposes and all that. But naturally speaking... Oh, there was also the possibility that the cicadas were very special in Hinamizawa, because there are some, like, Higurashis. They are cicadas that only live in Hinamizawa. So maybe there is something specific to these Higurashis that have caused, like, an increase in stress and these symptoms that have caused people these breakdowns for centuries, and nobody was aware of it. If I could read from Takano's notes right over here, and she talks about insects and all that, that would be heavenly. Like, so right now we're reading about parasites, let's see. But some parasites try to control their hosts and use them for prosperity. For example, some parasites have an ability to control their host, in order to force them to be eaten by a superior host. A typical example is the Dicrocoileum dendriticum. Dicrocoileum dendriticum it uses snails or ants as intermediate hosts, and it forces them to move to the upper side of vegetation so that it's easier for a superior host to consume it. One parasite that controls more complicated animals is called Toxoplasma gondii. It uses mice as intermediate hosts, with the superior hosts being cats. This parasite makes a mouse lose its fear of cats in order to increase its chance of getting eaten, so that a parasite can live within a cat instead. There are parasites that choose hosts at random. The rabies virus is commonly known for that. It lives and breeds in the brain of a host, and it moves into the host's saliva through the salivary glands. It makes the host extremely aggressive in order to make it bite things randomly, so that it in turn can move into other hosts through the saliva. Well, that is surely not a case that we've seen thus far. It's not as if we've seen someone like Keiichi or Shion just go bonkers to the point where they would bite their enemies. Like a vampire kind of disease. Or a zombie disease. That's what rabies do. Many parasites have a similar ability to control hosts to their benefit. The examples I used above are about parasites that move into other hosts to prosper. But I think there must be some kind of parasite that controls its host in order to have a comfortable environment in which to live. I want to try to connect this theory to the abnormal homing ability and homesickness on the Hinamizawa residents. Let's say there's some kind of parasite that exists in Hinamizawa, and it lives within all the villagers' bodies. For the parasite, Hinamizawa is the most comfortable environment to live in, so it gives the host a strong homing ability in order to make them stay in Hinamizawa. Furthermore, it causes the host to get homesick whenever they ignore this homing ability and try to leave. Parasites need hosts in which to live. It's convenient for them if their hosts build a community and environment when it feels comfortable. This theory makes it easier for me to explain the mysteries I described earlier. The Transcendents of Onigafuchi knew about the existence of this parasite. They knew that, as hosts to the parasites, they couldn't live outside the village. That's why they created a culture and rules that prohibited contact with the outside world. You know, I would deny that, but thinking about it more, it makes sense. Because in the past, people didn't get to move around the world as easily as today. Because nowadays, we have planes, we have trains, we have all the planes, trains, and all of it. Yeah, the point is, we have gone long ways of travel throughout the world. But in the past, in the primitive times of Onigafuchi, centuries ago, not even then. Like, best example I can offer is like during like the first recorded history of Japan, for example, where people didn't get to live Japan. They didn't create boats. All they had were their farms of rice. And because of that, there could be like a huge distance between villages and all that. The only people that you would see are the people that live inside the village, and that's it. You try to live the village, you could not see like any other humans for like years until you find like some other random village in Japan if you travel long enough. But until then, the parasite would no longer prosper. You have to stay in your village with the people that you know. So in that sense, yeah, it makes sense why the parasite would prefer if people of Onigafuchi would rather stick in their own village. It also explains why people acted so abnormal during the Dan conflict. So, the demons that came out of the swamp in the legend of Ayashiro-sama can be interpreted as the mass spread of the parasite. The story about the demons attacking the villagers must be a metaphor for the behavior of the infected villagers who were controlled by the parasite. This theory is too crazy. I should have just left about it, but I felt bad for Mio-san, so I decided not to. Hinamizawa is controlled by a parasite? You could use that theory to explain how the maggots came out of me. I felt a little bit dizzy. I was so confused. And a part of me thought it was ridiculous. Another part of me thought it was more convincing than any curse. But Mio-san was probably erased because she wrote these scrapbooks. If so, the contents of these scrapbooks must be something that I can't ignore. They tried to get all her scrapbooks and consign them to oblivion. What if they notice some of her scrapbooks are missing? I felt a chill running through my spine. I have to keep it a secret that I have these scrapbooks. And because of that, now let's go back to the fears that I had before. So, okay. Maybe there have been some parasites that have existed for centuries that have affected Hinamizawa. Okay. In which case, we can go with the governmental thing that, okay, maybe the government/secret organization is aware of these parasites, and either they are taking these parasites to create their own version of these drugs that have the same effects that those parasites are displaying in the bodies to affect people's minds artificially in similar fashion to the parasites, or they're trying to find a cure to these parasites. They're trying to get rid of all the parasites in the Hinamizawa. It could be either one of those. It could be either one of those. And I'll have to try to understand more about their contents. I remember Mio-san told me that the three families are behind the series of mysterious deaths, and that they're trying to resurrect the cult of Ayashiro-sama. According to the theory I just read, the parasite must be trying to maintain the current environment of Hinamizawa. The healthiest environment for it is a completely closed village, just like the primitive Onigafuchi. It must be very comfortable for the parasite if no hosts go outside the village. They don't even like that the villagers often leave the village to go shopping. That means the parasite will try to goad the host into resurrecting the cult of Ayashiro-sama. I remember there was an article in the scrapbook saying that demon's blood runs thickest in the three families. That would mean that they have a larger amount of the parasite in them than the other villagers, and that they are under its control. The three families seem to be planning to bring the village back to the Onigafuchi era. Reviving the Watanagashi festival after the Dan conflict can be interpreted as their desire to revive the faith that had started to fade away in the Meiji era. The three families, especially the Sonozaki family, have a great influence over the region and the public organizations. Oh boy, here we go. And thus, Rena's mistrust in Mion and the Sonozaki family and the three families is beginning. Rena is gonna start thinking that it's because of the three families that the curse is persisting, and she is probably gonna do some action to seize her happiness, aka get rid of the curse of Ayashiro-sama, and which would mean getting rid of the families. What's going on here? I thought this to be a poorly written theory, but the pieces fit together, one after another. I have never played a jigsaw puzzle as crazy as this. I felt my brain swirling due to this absurd theory. A part of me thought this was ridiculous, and another part of me thought I might be about to expose an unbelievable truth. When I tried to look into the center of it, I felt as if I was going to fall into the whirlpool and drown. There must be some truth to this. It caused misfortune and made my life miserable after I moved to Ibaraki. I might be able to find the truth, including the cause of my parents' divorce and my desperate behavior. Right there. I heard a knock on the door all of a sudden, scaring me. I hid the scrapbooks under a cushion.
Reina, 電話が来てるぞ。
Oh,
電話？こんな時間に？誰だろう？
本屋さんからだぞ。本の取り寄せとか頼んだのか？
Books?
沖宮書房の大石さんって人からだ。
I opened the windows, but all they let in was heat and the cries of the cicadas. Alright, took my usual break. Now, before we continue, one last thing. We're gonna just to make it maybe even better. Something like that. This should be official in my eyes. I think this should be good. At least when it comes to more like low volume songs, like slow music. But I guess we shall see when it comes to like the more bombastic sounds that songs that will happen once in a while.
味いな。
味いね。
It was break time between classes, but we couldn't really get any rest. Mion and I leaned on our desks, exhausted by the heat. Alright, back to Keiichi. The younger kids sure are tough, considering how the heat wasn't bothering them at all. Yeah, living in a village like this sure must be something. When it comes to getting used to heat, they were running around the classroom despite the temperature.
やっぱりさ、都会の学校だと教室にもクーラーとか入ってるわけ？
そんなことねえぞ。あるのはせいぜい職員室ぐらいだな。
うわぁ、それは羨ましいね。生徒みんなで職員室を襲って占拠とかしないの？
その辺の発想が実にミオン臭い。
Who knows, maybe you would have the power to do that. Take all the air conditioning in the world in the name of the Sonozakis. I didn't even have the energy to laugh. Mion and I stopped talking and used our notebooks to fan ourselves. I looked at the empty seat nearby. It was Rena's. Rena didn't come to school today. Yeah, it begins. Like, it starts with suspicious moments like these. Just not going to school. Rena is gonna end up in a similar situation to Keiichi in the first chapter. Go figure. She called and told Chie-sensei she couldn't come because she's sick.
レナのやつ、最近元気ないよな。
だね。暑さにやられたのかもね。
なあ、本気で暑さでやられたと思ってるのか？
そう思ってるけど。
例の一件がさ、やっぱりじわじわと来てるんじゃないのか？
かもね。それに暑さも加わって、夏バテでも起こしたんじゃないかな。
I can't even imagine how distressing it was for her to commit a murder, dismember the bodies, and get caught by her friends. We took each other's hands at the place, and we united. All of us believed that we had closed the case there, and had regained our peace. But was that as easy for Anna as it was for us? No. Like I said, it's mostly like a time thing. Like, time will heal the wounds, even if the scars are still going to be there. She must have not quite recovered yet.
おじさんはみんなで楽しく遊んでれば、そのうち元気になると思ってたんだけどね。そこまで心の傷が浅くなかったってことかな。
こういう時さ、どうしたらレナを元気づけられるかな？
多分、ほっとくのが一番じゃないかな。
おいおい、そんなのでいいのかよ。俺たち仲間だろ？
ほら、ホームシックってあるじゃない？
Oh, you're bringing up the talk of homesickness. Oh boy.
あれもね、ちょっと寂しいからって言って、実家に電話なんかかけちゃうと、一気に発症しちゃうらしいよ。
寂しい時はぐっと耐えて、例えばスポーツにでも打ち込んで気分転換を図るのが一番なんだってさ。
Oh boy. Now Rena's gonna get into like baseball.
気分転換させてやりたくても、あいつ、最近部活に加わらないし。
レナはどうか知らないけどさ、人には甘えたい欲ってのがあるんだよ。そばに支えてくれる人や同情してくれる人がいると甘えたくなる欲。慰めてくれる人が現れるとさ、際限なく甘えちゃうことってない？
どうだろうな。
際限なく甘えるってことは、相手の同情をより深く得ようとするってこと。そうすると、ケイちゃんは慰めてるつもりなのに、相手はどんどん落ち込んでいっちゃうことがあるんだよね。慰められて甘えられる。これに味を占めると、不幸に酔うのが癖になる。レナもその辺分かってるから、わざと一人になろうとしてるんじゃない？慰めや甘えが目的だったら、私たちのそばにいて涙を流せば済むわけだし。
じゃあ、落ち込んでるレナを、どう励ませばいいんだよ。
女の心情としては、辛さを励ましてくれるより、忘れさせてくれる方が嬉しいね。
慰めるな、励ますな。なんだよ、お手上げじゃないかよ。
慰めるな励ますなは心理カウンセラーの鉄則だって知ってる？結局、心の傷ってのは自分で治すようにできてる。周りの人が治したとしても、それは本当の完治じゃない。だから、レナが自分で元気になるのを私たちは見守るしかないんだよ、きっと。
理屈じゃ理解できるが、なんだか薄情な気がして、好きになれねえな。